that is my fate, then so be it!
You will never be loved.
I can't help the fact that I feel this way.
No fear, no pain. I know my tatsukaniri. No fear, no pain. Osoreru mono wa nani mo nai.
On the surface to Western audiences, this might be one of the most confusing videos you've ever watched if you know nothing about tokusatsu. Your earliest exposure to this genre is probably Power Rangers or Godzilla. Before I get to the references, I have to explain what tokusatsu even is. Tokusatsu, which translates to special filming, is a Japanese term for live-action film or television drama that uses heavy special effects. That being said, today we're going to talk about Kamen Rider, or as it's translated in the States, Mass Rider, but we do not talk about that terrible adaptation from the 90s. Although, Dragon Knight's okay. Created by the legendary Shotaro Ishinomori, sorry if I butchered the name, Japanese is not my strong suit, the brainchild behind other properties such as Cyborg 009 and Super Sentai, later adapted into Power Rangers. Now that we've got that pretext out of the way, let's dive into those references. Let's start off with a classic, and probably more obvious to all the tokusatsu superfans, Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super. The first instance of a Kamen Rider reference, and subsequently a Super Sentai reference, is the Ginyu Force, with their dramatic poses and roll call, which had a major effect on the character of Son Gohan, who would later become a Kamen Rider-esque superhero dubbed the Great Saiyaman. In Dragon Ball Super, one of the Universe 3 fighters, titled Catospera, I could be saying that wrong, is a masked superhero who could change into 3 different colors and fight his enemies, which is he's also a cyborg, and his belt is very similar to the henshin devices that Kamen Riders use. And the whole robot motif harkens back to Ichigo. In Chapter 50 of Akira Toriyama's manga, Dr. Slump, the titular character shows up dressed up as Santa Claus while visiting Arale, who is dressed up just like Kamen Rider Ichigo. She even does a little rider kick. Next, we have a blink and you miss it reference in How I Met Your Mother, where we can see in Barney's bedroom there are statues specifically of Ichigo and V3. In the Disney Channel original TV show Liv and Maddie, one of the lead characters is often seen wearing a Deca driver from Kamen Rider Decade. Moving on to Western animation, we have The Amazing World of Gumball. In it, we see that Rob hijacks the show, and one of the changes is that he makes a Power Rangers-esque TV show called Techno-Powered Teenage Warriors. And one of the main mechas is basically a reference to Kamen Rider Black. In the 2012 version of the TMNT, we can catch Michelangelo performing a secret kata, which is very similar to the movements of Kamen Rider V3. In the Fairly Odd Parents TV movie, Channel Chasers, we can catch Timmy watching something called Mahamushi, and one of the characters looks just like Kamen Rider V3. Who else remembers Transformers Energon? Next to Armada, that show was a real bop. One of the human characters, Kicker Jones, utilizes a cool battle suit that looks a lot like a Kamen Rider. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has several references to Kamen Rider, including the Masked Hero line of cards used in GX, and another card line called the Insectors that drew heavily from the Kamen Rider Kabuto era, where Jaden uses elemental heroes, which are a reference to Western superheroes. The Masked heroes are references to Kamen Rider and Japan. In Digimon, we have characters like Justimon and Stingamon, who heavily look like two sides of Kamen Rider. Stingamon looks more like Kamen Rider Amazon, and Justimon or Justicemon looks more like a traditional Kamen Rider, kind of like Kamen Rider Ichigo from the neck down. In the realm of comic books, however, we have a plethora of references to Kamen Rider. Starting with DC Comics, we have the Batman of Japan, who looks not exactly, but kind of like a Kamen Rider mixed with a Super Sentai. This is highly controversial, but probably accurate. DC's popular hero Blue Beetle is heavily influenced by tokusatsu, with the likes of characters like the Guyver and Kamen Rider. And last but not least, in Marvel, we have Anya Corazon, who has the ability to summon an exoskeleton that looks a lot like Kamen Rider Amazon. But if I missed any references, or you have any references you know of Kamen Rider in other medias, let me know. Comment down in the comment section. Don't forget to like, comment again, and hit that notification bell so you know the next time we upload, and let's have a conversation going on.